spoke about France. They are one of the World Cup favorites, betting favorites going into this summer. And this was their farewell match. Did not go to plan. A 2-1 loss to the Ivory Coast in Nantes for France, for this France side. We've talked about the deepest squad, top to bottom, in the entire tournament. It didn't go to as planned in this match, and Ivory Coast probably could have had a couple of more in this match, to be fair. Is there cause for concern here for this French side? It is a friendly. They had a lot of substitutes, but they still had a pretty deep squad on the pitch.
Yeah, statistically, what came out from this game was that they hadn't lost a friendly game going into a major tournament in 16 years. So something happened here, but you're also going up against opposition that is very talented. A lot of French-born players also on the Ivory Coast side, but also a talented group that's shaping up to take on Germany.
Yep.
So very similar to France. I think Germany right now are maybe pooping in the pants just a little bit. I would be, because I thought Ivory Coast were terrific and the finishing was exceptional. So yeah, France obviously not at their best. I don't take much from it except for the fact that they started a very strong 11. They rotated a very strong bench at halftime coming into it. And still there is room for improvement. But this France side, I'm going to just throw it out there. Me and you spoke off camera about this while this game was going on. They can put their foot on the accelerator and win this whole competition without even blinking. I put them ahead of Spain. That's how good and how deep this France side is. Or you can see what has happened sometimes in major tournament where they've just taken their foot off the accelerator. They've got a bit cocky going into games, and teams have actually taken advantage of that. I don't want to see that from this France. They're too deep, they're too talented. They should be the team that absolutely goes there and pretends to be like they're already the champion. They should play like that. They didn't play like that in this game. They didn't play like they were preparing for a World Cup, except for the fact that they didn't want to get injured.
Which is fair going into a World Cup. We've seen it so much. I would still say, we said this as well, they are the most talented team. I don't think that is up for debate.
Yeah.
But they do sometimes have lacked that killer instinct to put games away when they have a lead, to put 2 or 3 and seal the game. They've struggled in friendlies. They've struggled in competitions as of late. And I don't know. It is a concern for me. Again, if they are playing at their highest, I think they're unbeatable. If they're not, I think they let teams hang around, and that could give them an issue in this tournament going into a knockout match where they're going to struggle to score because they're not able to put the foot on the throat of their opponents. Is that something that you're looking at, even with all the talent that they have available to them on the bench as well? Yeah,
I mean, ridiculous what they had on the bench to be able to bring off the bench. Even in this game, they made changes. Digne came on, Lacroix came on, Kante came on, Mateta came on, Akliouche came on, Hernandez came on, Gusto, Kone, Zaire Emery, Barcola. I could go on. That was the players who actually came off the bench. Honestly, Stefano, I'm not worried. I really am. I think that first game against Senegal is the one that's the cup final for them in the group stage, because then you've got to go up against an Iraq side. Okay, they brought a surprise result against Spain. They've got some talent, but I think France should take care of business in that second game, which means that they go into that Norway game not necessarily needing maximum points if you take care of business in game 1. I think France win all 3 games in their group, but the one that you don't want to go into is that final game against Norway, needing something from that game to finish second. Okay, they could and probably should finish 3rd if they mess this up. But I don't think there's any way that they get eliminated from this competition or anything like that in the group stage. However, let's not forget how good Senegal are. They're a reason why they're champions, and obviously flying high in African football, whether you debate they're champion or not. To me, they're the best team in African football. They are probably the true champions of African football, but they are so talented, so deep, and will be ready to rock and roll in that game 1. And also, again, I go back to it, a lot of French-born players in that Senegal side. Right. So there's a point to prove there going up against that nation, France. But I just think this is going to be, in my opinion, a France side that just wallops it down on the accelerator. You got to think of the players who are trying to get into the starting 11. I mean, can you imagine training sessions? It must be ridiculous.
They have 2 11s. They have 2 11s that could easily both be quarterfinal sides in this World Cup. So you have to imagine that they're banking on that, even though this wasn't the result. Played against an Ivory Coast side again. It's going to be a difficult side in this World Cup. Speaking of groups and difficult groups, Ivory Coast in a group with Ecuador and Germany. That's a tough group to get out of as well. And they're showing that they have the talent. So this wasn't a cakewalk either. It wasn't a team that they were just playing You expect France to win every game. This was not an easy match preparation-wise for this World Cup for France.
You watch more South American qualifiers than I do, but I've watched enough to know that Ecuador are no pushover.
Oh,
easy,
no.
Right?
It's
They're difficult to score goals
physical
against,
team, yeah.
solid, they work hard, aggressive. I think Germany, in particular, I obviously follow the German team closer. I think that Germany will need to be on their very best to win this group. I really do. And Ivory Coast look like a proper side. But getting back to France, I'm not worried. I just see an element of composure and confidence. I actually think that this was a performance and a result that might just keep people on their toes and might actually kick them into gear just before they get into that World Cup. Training sessions are going to be fierce. And I think Deschamps knows that. He's got to get these players bouncing to be able to get the best of them.
This could be a blessing in disguise for Deschamps to say, see what happens, guys? When the effort isn't there, see what can happen? So now he has that ability to get them going and to use this result against them in training and say, you need to be better if you're going to win this tournament.
Their next game, the friendly game before they actually go into the World Cup, is against Northern Ireland. They're playing also just a little bit of a quiet one getting into it, right? I understand that. Think again, Northern Ireland are absolute machines. They'll run up against you and they'll make you work hard. So they've got that to look forward to, obviously, before we do get into this World Cup. But that first game is going to be an absolute banger.
Are France your favorites to win the World Cup?
They're my favourite to win the World Cup just because of how deep they are. I mean, like we talk about like the bookmakers right now, Spain are the favourites to win the World Cup. You would have the European nations, obviously Spain alongside, I would say France and I would say England. I wouldn't put Germany in the top 5. I just wouldn't. I would say Argentina are probably that 4th or 3rd nation favourite because they've got the X factor. And I do think that then you've got to start to look at where else is that coming from? Where's the quality coming from? Why are we not paying attention to African football when it comes to these types of games? You know, we're talking about the disappointment from France and we're talking about, okay, yeah, Senegal will take something from this game. Ivory Coast could win their group. Yeah. And I'm telling you now, that team right there that stepped up against France played with purpose. Every single player went for it. They're finishing immaculate. So I would watch out for Ivory Coast just bringing a few surprises. And I'm talking to Die Mannschaft right now, Herr Nagelsmann. Make sure you're paying a bit of attention to what we just witnessed there. France, they're no clowns, right? They're a top team. And Ivory Coast at stages in that second half were dominating.